This episode contains honest conversations about mental health, including personal experiences that some viewers may find upsetting.
The stories shared are based on real-life experiences and shouldn't be taken as clinical advice.
If you or someone you know is struggling, support is available. Visit mentalhealthishealth.tv to find support and services wherever you are.
Oh my God, we're actually up here.
I'm afraid of heights.
Well, wrong place to be.
Yeah.
I feel skinny up here.
Yeah, oh my God, I'm so light.
Weightless.
Okay, should we?
Pick the
Why don't
first
you
part.
intro us,
Yeah.
Queen?
So, Chris and Dakota, today we're going to find out what keeps you up at night. The thing you said 5 years ago, the moment that never went away. Let's lay it out on the table and start putting it to bed.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Please.
I'm ready.
God.
You said that with some determination.
Are you ready?
You're ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. Right. What's been stuck on your mind this week? Surviving a heat wave has been on my mind.
Real.
Real. The imminent threat of global warming keeps me up at night.
Oh, yeah?
I guess what is keeping me up for the most part is, so I've just kind of like moved here for the summer, right? And I keep making the joke online that I just moved to Europe in general.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yes.
And everyone's like, were you in London? Were you in London, baby?
I don't know
But
why.
also, you
We're
know what?
technically in Europe.
Well,
Well,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Geographically, you are.
But-
a lot of people, I think that when Brexit happened,
just gonna say
We
Brexit.
left
you were
Europe.
no longer geographically part of
Yeah.
Europe.
We're just not part of a continent
I
anymore.
know, and
that's
honestly,
not
yeah, I know. I'm
Anyway.
like, that's why we're up here.
Yeah.
Away
Yeah.
from all of that.
Yeah, true.
We're rising above.
Yeah,
We're
Brexit
not in a
keeps me up at
continent
night.
right now.
No, we're in the continent of us.
Yes, in mindfulness.
That could have been better. Is there a moment from your career that made you lose sleep?
I actually think career-wise, it's like the lack of knowing where I want to go in career direction that
Yeah.
kept me up at night. And now I feel like I'm kind of in a stable place of like where I want to go, what I want to be, all of that.
That's very real. But that's very real, especially I feel like for young people these days,
Yeah.
we are exposed and aware of so many options
There's
that we
too
can
many.
do. And also we're encouraged to follow our dreams in a beautiful way. But I think there was simplicity before.
For sure.
Maybe in a rigid way that made people feel like I had no choice but to enter this job. We have so many options and opportunities that we're aware of, not necessarily that are easy to get,
Or find.
but that we're aware of that can make us want to do everything, and then sometimes that makes us not end up following one.
Well,
which
exactly
can be
that.
tough too.
Exactly that. You see all the endless opportunities, and while you're waiting and looking and trying to decide,
Yeah.
like they slowly slip away. And
Yeah.
it's like, Jesus, oh my God.
There's also so much pressure on young people to have it figured out and to be successful.
And to buy a house.
By the
and
time
like,
you're 21, it's like everything's supposed to be done. I think it is
Yeah.
largely because of social media, which is like we can all reap the benefits of and are very grateful for. But I also find myself comparing myself to
exactly
people on
that.
social media all the
Comparison's
time.
the thief of joy.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
no matter how far you think in your career that you are, you're like, oh, I'm not there. Oh,
Yeah.
this person's 22 and I'm
Right.
27 and they've done so much, and it's like, ah.
Right.
And also to be public facing, having that element of like people are looking at you at some kind of standard or role model, or even just visually. Like
Yeah.
I said, I mean, a lot of my work now is through makeup and doing looks and stuff. And then I think, am I even like pretty enough to be doing this? I feel so grateful that I even get to be like invited to places like today, or like even invited to rooms where, you know, trans people wouldn't necessarily
Yeah.
be allowed to speak. We are a very small minority of the population that more recently has been like, I think, blown up into a massive political football and issue across the pond and here. And it's being at the center of it when necessarily like my everyday life, as much as like I can be very visibly queer in drag, you know, my everyday life, like when I'm not Dakota, when that's not my on, I pay tax, I go buy some bread, I live my life. Like, I don't know, like it's just very, social media is almost where I interact with it most, but posting, like we said, it gets to that point where you're interacting with socials, being a trans woman adding to that element, it's like, I don't even mention my identity and suddenly like I'm already a political flashpoint and I'm just putting some mascara on and it's like revolutionary. And sometimes it just shouldn't be, you know? But I acknowledge that's part of like why I also people enjoy what I do, because it's a community resource as well. Like even just seeing a trans person be like love makeup and love a look, and it's being creative, and it's like I'm very happy I get that platform, because it's like in that sense it's like you just see a trans person existing, and that sometimes is enough for someone, as opposed to the throwing yourself into the virtual fire of it all.
What's been the biggest personal challenge for you to get here today?
Well, yeah, the Uber was tough.
My Lime bike broke down.
The Lime bike.
Yeah. I mean, I think my biggest challenge that's kind of got me here today was ADHD. I, at university, struggled with it so much. I mean, all through my life I struggled with it, but it was like completely undiagnosed. You know, it very much like seeped into every aspect of my life, in the sense that I couldn't show up for myself like everyone else was showing up for themselves, and it was very like deep rooted in me that I was inherently lazy. Really, that's not the case. I just don't have the same brain chemistry as like a normal everyday person. And at university, it kind of got to that point where like through my whole life I was able to coast on like to get by.
Yes.
But when it came to a real challenge of like actually like university, like that's
It's a leg up.
the leg up, yeah, exactly. I really struggled, and I wasn't turning up to my lectures because I was late, or I was handing in assignments like like literally maybe like 30 minutes late, because even though I knew I had 5 weeks, I was doing it like the night before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Been there.
And like all of that, just like all of that, you know, really built up into the point of like an explosion in my third year of university, where I like was completely depressed. Everything was like felt like it was all climbing on top of me, and I just decided to actually like take that time for myself and take a year out of university and like actively choose myself in that moment, and not try and push through all of that, and just kind of like go home, lean on my support system, like not admit defeat, but like kind of realize that I can't do this by myself, and that I need to,
Admitting
like,
you need time is not defeat. It's
Yeah.
so important. It's actually like a really important part, I think, of healing or learning from anything, because acknowledging that it takes time and allowing yourself that is actually one of the most powerful things you can do in a situation like that. And that's a
100%.
brilliant decision you made. Next card. Can you think of a time a loved one has helped you through a tough time?
gosh.
Too many.
Too many.
Yeah.
Plenty.
Too many.
I have, I mean, I've talked about this on multiple times, and she'd probably hate me for bringing her up right now. But my identical twin is my best friend, and she's also trans, and it's like a wonderful thing that we both share this sort of identity journey, but also we share kidneys and things like that if we ever need a transplant or anything like that. But
Did you come out around the same time?
funnily enough, no. We had very separate journeys, actually. We had, I mean, similar enough, like we were kind of like the jig was up growing up. We were so, like,
I got two lesbian sisters as well. We had exactly the same journey. It was like that Spider-Man meme. It was like, hang on, why are you like watching Santana? And
so we always knew we were some form of like, we were just very hyper feminine kids. Like it was like this kind of, my dad is like very hyper masculine. He was in the Marines. So it was just kind of this like intense like feeling of like, wow, like we are not the kids our parents planned for. I am nothing like my dad. But when obviously we went to uni, and both of us went to different unis, it kind of was one of those things where we separated, and for the first time it was like at that point I started my transition. I was very much doing drag almost every day, trying to escape from my identity out of it. Like I was so using Dakota as a crutch. And at that point, it was like, I do very much remember, at least in terms of transitioning, like I was the guinea pig for a lot of my friends, a lot of people around me. Like so many of my friends now back then have had their own transitions and gender discoveries and stuff. I always knew like, but I very much, at least like where I'm from, like was kind of like the guinea pig in that regard. And so, but it's been very wonderful, like even though obviously at that time my twin wasn't going through that journey, she was there for me. And now it's funny that I get to be there for her when she's on her journey. Over the past few years, it's been a very different experience, because obviously again it's kind of that thing where the jig's up, the writing's on the wall, like we've done this before, like but also it's always still a unique experience. So many things like that you need to especially like in terms of social presentation and documentation and medicate, like things like that. Having me being able to be there for her and any of my friends, like they were for me, it's like a wonderful feeling. Like feels very full circle.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What about if you think of a time I loved one?
Oh, yeah, I mean, there have been so many times. I feel like one of the main ones that comes up is when I was in college, university.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I was in university, after my first year, alcoholism runs in my family, addiction runs in my family, and so by the time I was like 16, it was pretty clear that was like the path I was going down.
Right.
But also it's so tough when you're young, especially then when you start university, everyone is doing things like crazy. Even if like you're not necessarily a problematic user of things, it's just like the pressure of socially needing to do that things.
New
Everyone
experience, you want to fit in, like you want to make sure.
You're drinking, you're doing other things, but this is a very common journey for addicts is you keep it on the weekends and then you think, well, I'm fine. I'm only doing it on the weekends. And then it slowly seeps in. It's like, okay, well, I don't have classes on Wednesday. So on Tuesdays, I can also do something. And then it just ended up becoming like, so many of my days. And then I woke up one day, September of my second year, and my roommate woke me up and I walked into the kitchen and my whole family was there and it was an intervention. Oh, wow. And of course in that moment it was horrifying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel good. I think there was a lot of fear in that moment of what was gonna happen because the idea after an intervention is like you leave where you are that day to go to a treatment center. Oh my God. You don't have time to say goodbye to, I mean, depending on how intense the scenario is, and like, my case was pretty intense. And I remember my roommate told me that when I left that day, she's one of my best friends still, but she was sure that I was never gonna speak to her again after that because she was like, I just sent you away from school because I loved you and like knew I wanted you to get better. And I was willing to sacrifice whatever you thought of our relationship by the end of that because I wanted you to get better. And so she was ready if I happened to be like, I'm holding a grudge and I don't want to be friends with you anymore. She was ready for that out of love. And of course, I've come around to the other side. I mean, very quickly, I think like a few weeks even into being in the treatment center, I had come to the realization that was like the most courageous
loving
biggest act of
loving
love
thing
ever.
that they could have done. And while it's such a tough thing to do, and I think a lot of people are hesitant to do that for a loved one, whether it's around substance abuse or just checking in because they need help, it can feel like you're doing something wrong towards these people because you're encouraging them to get help or you see something better in them. And a lot of the time people can be combative towards that, especially when you're deep in a dark moment of your life. But I'm really grateful that I got to the other side of seeing how incredible that was from them and what an act of strength it was for them. Yes, it was a hard day for me, but ultimately I think it was also, if not way harder of a day for them. Yeah. That is definitely a time that many loved ones came together to help me, and I probably wouldn't be here today for that either. Wow. So, I mean, big props to them.
Very powerful.
And I think it's helped me have confrontational moments with my friends sometimes as well. Like confrontation is a tough word, but sometimes it's necessary. Where like friends might be in a tough moment and I have to like set the boundary of like, I know you're like, I can watch you actively hurting yourself and I can't be a part of supporting that. So I love you, but I'm gonna have to like take space until.
I mean, that's so pertinent, I think.
It's hard, but it's so helpful. Yeah,
I think for me, maybe it was 23, right when I was on the TV show I Kissed a Girl, my dad got diagnosed with an aneurysm, and it was like right as we were out filming, and so we weren't allowed our phones in there, we weren't allowed anything, and like the way that my community showed up for me. Like the producers there were all queer, like everyone in the show was obviously all queer and everything, and the way that they all kind of showed up for me, that was a moment of like strangers showing up for me in that sense, and that's just a kind of an
It's a nice, it reminds you of the human condition.
Exactly, it's
gives
very
you a
much,
bit of faith.
Yeah, it's very much that. Obviously my friends and family show up for me like every day.
Yeah.
And, like they've saved my life on countless times, but this was kind of a moment of like, oh my God, like you don't even know me.
Yeah.
You don't even know me and you're consoling me. And without them there, without them supporting me to like not give up and like, you know, completely become into a shell of myself while I was doing this amazing experience, you know, I definitely wouldn't be sat here, Jesus Christ.
How did you work through some of your struggles, and where'd you go for support?
To be honest, I think, if I'm being completely truthful,
And we want you to be
I don't even
in this
know.
cloud.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm still figuring that all out.
And
But
it changes probably.
and it changes, exactly, it changes. I think just showing up for myself is something I'm trying to really work on, which is hard.
It is
especially
very
when you're
hard.
struggling mentally.
I think in terms of going for support, I'm trying to be
Yeah.
better at managing a lot of it myself, because sometimes, and this is the thing, it's like no one in my life ever, like, I hope didn't think I'm a burden, but it's one of those things where it's like managing a lot of things myself has meant that I'm actually better able to communicate my issues, less maybe emotionally, less intensely, in a way that is more easy to understand for other people who maybe like wouldn't necessarily be empathetic to my situation in the first place. I have found that I'm finding a lot of stability in that journey.
Chris, I know you mentioned therapy earlier.
Yes.
Like, is that
Yes.
I personally should look into?
100%. I've been in therapy since I was like 12.
Oh my God.
I've been in therapy. I mean, my parents put me in therapy at first when they were like going through their own issues and then a divorce. So it was just kind of like, our kid's gonna need therapy because of this, so go talk to someone. And that was like my first introduction to it, and it was a child psychologist, which I think was helpful. But I feel like I really bought into it once I went to that treatment center, and I still work with my therapist who I worked with there.
Wow.
So we've been together for like 7 years now.
That's a long relationship.
And that's like where therapy really thrives, because she knows so much about me. And I think that's where people maybe get scared about starting therapy in the first place, is it's so daunting to think, okay, in the first like few sessions I have to tell you everything about my life. And yes, that's part of it, but also like, one, you gotta start somewhere, and two, a good therapist is gonna just like meet you where you are and like work with you in that moment. And then also, as you had mentioned before, I'm a big fan of like being evaluated for the right medication, which I know is also privileged and not for everyone. Some people are not into medication, and that's okay. For me, it is what 100% worked for me. I've been on different ones too, and sometimes it takes a while to find the right one. And I feel like over the past few months, I've really found the medication and the therapy and the tools that I do every day that really work for me. And I feel like
Getting there.
I feel like it's a new chapter, which is lovely.
Okay, what is the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself to this point?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've learned a lot today from the both
Yeah,
of you.
100%.
Absolutely. I don't know, I often feel a word that sort of like chased me my whole life, like has been like stubborn. And I feel like I think I've always been from the age of 17, I first consumed Drag Race as a media. I was like, well, I found what I'm gonna do with my life. And until then, and up until 22, just when I got on the show, like it was all I ever really like planned for in life. And I think like, oh my God, like I can't even relate to how driven and determined that little kid was. I always will value that person and how driven she was and how it got me here.
The biggest lesson I've learned about myself is that it is okay to continue to be like a soft person as we grow up. I think a lot of the time it's like the idea is stop caring about people's opinions, and like as you grow older it will affect you less because you won't care as much. And I think there is a lot of like insecurity that is released from you as you grow older, so you stop caring. But I think the advice I was getting when I started doing this publicly was like, you can't let them get to you.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to be a sensitive person, and I don't want my coping mechanism to be that I put a wall up.
Yeah, that's very true.
Your softness isn't your weakness, it's your strength.
Yeah.
Say that.
Period. Which
Heard
is
it?
No,
And what about you?
I think mine is that like imposter syndrome will follow me no matter how far I am in life.
Sure.
Like I'm miles ahead of now than I was last year or even the year before, and I still feel like I'm miles behind. And I think there's like a piece of like, actually, just you're doing great, sweetie. You're alive. You're kicking. You're happy. You've got the people that you like. Everything's superficial. You know what I mean? Like
a little
got-
recall.
Yeah. You've got a little like. You just gotta realize that where you're at in life is where you're meant to be right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big lesson I've learned.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being so vulnerable. I feel like I'm
you.
coming out of this conversation lighter, and not because I'm on a cloud. But yeah.
I feel very privileged to be able to have this conversation with you guys here today, and I feel like I've learned a lot from both of you. So
Oh my God, for real.
Yes. It's
hearing your
always good to
experiences.
speak to people who you can relate to and also empathize with and hear a different side
Sides.
of things that you might have been going through.
Real.
And I think we can all do that more.